views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome. Pursuant to Chapter 4, Section 8, and Chapter 69, Section 2706 of the New York City Charter, a joint meeting of the Bronx Borough Service Cabinet and Bronx Borough Board will take place on Wednesday, July 11th, 2018, starting roughly at 9:15. At 851 Grand Concourse, room 819. And again, I want to thank you all for coming. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're just going to jump right in to our first presentation, which is the status of rain gardens and green infrastructure. And we have Zachary Youngerman from New York City Department of Environmental Protection. Thank you, Zachary.
Thank you, Marika. Thank you, everyone. This will probably be about 5 minutes, and happy to take questions or talk more about specific questions. This program is really focused on improving water quality in New York Harbor. The water quality is the best it's been in over 100 years of testing, but we do still have some areas in the Bronx River, Westchester Creek, and Hutchinson River, which still need to be improved. And so we're implementing a green infrastructure program, which is assets that are distributed throughout the Bronx, throughout the watersheds that feed into those water bodies, that capture stormwater from the streets, from buildings, to reduce combined sewer overflows and improve that water quality. We're working, as I said, in several different watersheds to really get the most bang for our buck to improve water quality. And what these look like in the different watersheds are technical sewerage boundaries. They don't correspond to any political or neighborhood boundaries. So they kind of weave in and out of areas that would be familiar to anyone who lives or works here. And in the northern section of the Bronx, we have already constructed assets. Further down in Hunts Point, we're at the stage where the contract is going out for bid. And then a lot of the area is in earlier stages. So consultants working for the city go out and survey neighborhoods to see where green infrastructure could be installed. They take soil borings, which is our geotechnical phase, and then they finalize design of assets. And what that looks like typically are what we call these rain gardens that are installed in city sidewalks and city streets. Hopefully those are familiar already to some of you. We have about 4,000 already installed across the city in the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Queens. The program as a whole is also working to retrofit city properties. That tends to be schools, parks, NYCHA facilities, and then smaller city properties like libraries, police stations, and such. So we're working with sister agencies to retrofit properties as well. And then we do have a grant program for private properties, which is smaller, but we're working everywhere that we can. Outreach and engagement is, of course, very important to our program. Earlier this year, Effie and I were up in Woodlawn talking about the program. We presented to folks in Hunts Point, and we're certainly happy to talk to any of your districts or communities about the program and the schedule of this rollout, how everyone will be affected. Field staff, when they're surveying neighborhoods, distribute brochures and door hangers, and we provide maps of all expected locations of rain gardens to elected officials, community boards before construction. If a rain garden is planned for the sidewalk in front of a property owner's house, that property owner will receive a notice. So if they've missed presentations, maybe a door hanger went in the mail, they threw out the mail, they'll receive a letter addressed to them, as well as follow-up call to let them know about the siting of a rain garden in front of their house or business. And there is consideration for residents with disabilities to opt out of the program if someone living in that building has a handicap permit. They're worried about parking in front of their house, and they're going to get in and out. They can opt out of that program. Otherwise, we think of it as a piece of infrastructure like a fire hydrant or a catch basin. The decision is rather technical, and it goes out in the sidewalk and beautifies the neighborhood as well as improves water quality. Finally, all the rain gardens have blue decals, these stickers on the side of them, on the fences that surround them, so that people know when they're calling 311, it's not a tree pit, it's a rain garden. And so those requests can get directed to the bureau of ours who's in charge of maintenance, should there be any issues. We do have a large maintenance crew. This summer it's over 100, and we're growing year by year. I think it's a kind of undersung green jobs story. Certainly if you have folks in your communities who are interested in jobs, look for that. A lot of them are seasonal. They're also permanent staff. And they're really the folks who are going out a couple times a week to make sure that these assets continue to function, continue to be beautiful day in and day out. And of course we coordinate with sanitation and parks on any larger issues. Right now the crew is stationed out of the Jerome Ave pumping station, and then we have a separate crew that covers Brooklyn and Queens. Finally, we're beginning to develop a rain garden adoption program. We've heard from some communities that people want to get involved. Maybe they're already gardeners, or they just have a particular interest in taking care of these assets because it's right in front of their house and they want to be involved. So we're developing an adoption program to train people in how to care for rain gardens, should they want to take that on, and participate in one-off volunteer cleanup days. It would never replace our maintenance staff, but it would supplement it. It's a dirty city. We go out a couple times a week, but trash comes in, day 2, day 3 when we're not there. So it's a way to allow residents or business owners to have some ownership and to have some recognition over these things that are oftentimes, as I said, right in front of their homes or businesses. I'm happy to take any questions now, or I can leave my card. Follow up if you have specific questions about streets or districts. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? Rosemary, Ms. Ginty?
Thank you for the presentation.
Sure.
Do you have a sense of how much it cost you to install
A rain
rain garden.
sidewalk, how much is that? And the street one also, I know it probably depends on the size, but just a general range, how much does it cost you to do?
Sure. So sorry I don't have a pointer, but in the top left, that's our typical rain garden. And the number that I remember is around $25,000. So they're excavated down 5 feet and then replaced with an open stone and an engineered soil. Typically they're 5 feet wide and 10, 15, or 20 feet long. And because those are our standard designs, they're pretty easy to implement to site. This asset, which we call a green street, the upside is that it can be larger than a rain garden, so it can capture more stormwater. And these are really only in places where there's like an excess of roadway, maybe there's an odd geometry or meeting of streets, and so we have to coordinate a lot more with Department of Transportation to see what the size could be. And because that's a custom kind of creation, it is more costly.
Okay, and
Yeah.
just one last question. Do you, those street sidewalks, would you entertain putting them in business improvement districts, or do you stay away from business improvement districts?
So they're sited basically potentially anywhere that drains into the specific sewer system. Certainly they are in business improvement districts. Our colleagues at Department of Transportation have put a lot of constraints on us to make sure that vehicles and pedestrians move safely. So it does tend to be that in busier areas we have more constraints. There are already traffic signs that can't be moved. There are other types of utilities that can't be moved. You know, we're kind of the Johnny-come-lately. All the other utilities are already there, bus stops, etc. So we have to fit ourselves into the kind of existing infrastructure that's in the sidewalk. Sure.
So it sounds like you have a lot of, you basically get you figure out where you want to place these
Right.
beforehand.
Right.
Do you have, how many do you have coming up, say, in the next year?
So these areas, I don't know if you can see my, oh no, you can't see my mouse move. But the areas in light pink, sort of along the Bronx River, those are where consultants are currently doing walkthrough. So they're surveying the whole neighborhood and marking with green spray paint where they think a potential rain garden would go. And then in the kind of medium pink, which isn't showing up so well, the next phase after the rain gardens or the potential locations are cited is really the geotech, the soil drilling, and particularly because a lot of the Bronx has high bedrock, we find that we're rejecting a lot more sites than we would like. The idea is that stormwater infiltrates through the rain garden and into the ground. And if you have bedrock that's 5 feet or 3 feet below the surface, there's nowhere for the water to go. So it's not a good investment for us. Does that answer your question, sort of?
Yes,
Okay.
sort of.
Hi. How are neighborhoods prioritized in the rollout for rain gardens? Because I'm looking at this map, and it seems like you've done much of the Northeast Bronx, but you're only getting to immediately around the Bronx River watershed. Like, how does that roll out?
Sorry. Your question is which areas of the watershed are chosen.
Yeah, which neighborhoods are in terms of rollout? Because you're done most of the Northeast Bronx, and then you're in final design, going through Pelham Gardens, Morris Park, Parkchester, but next is the Bronx River, the areas around the Bronx River. What's the sequencing since the areas closest to the watershed are being rolled out? Is there any plan, or is it?
It really just has to do with the kind of bidding timeline and how contracts get awarded, but there hasn't been this area we have to get to first because it's worst. Or
Can a community board approach you and then prioritize one neighborhood?
Could a community board approach
Yeah, and just
us?
say, we see you're looking at this, but can you focus on this area?
These contracts, the design, the design is already started. So all of these areas are already in contract. They can also move at different speeds based on what we find, based on, how good the contractor is at giving us files, all sorts of issues. Separately, we do have a process looking at a long-term control plan, looking at water quality in the East River, Harlem River, open waters. So that may in the future move us a bit further west in the Bronx. But right now, these are the only areas that we're working on. And again, it's based on this prioritization of where does combined sewage have the greatest impact on waterways in the Bronx. And again, if it's going out sort of into Long Island Sound, the movement of the water is such that it's not having, the pollution is not having as great an impact as it is on the Bronx River or Westchester Creek, where it's a pretty confined water body.
Thank you.
I think you were, yes, you were next, Mr. Stevenson.
So Councilmember Andrew Cohen represents all of the Northwest Bronx, so I see Community Board 12 represented, which is great, but I don't see much of Community Board 7 and 8.
Yeah.
So my main question is this eligible for participatory budgeting, installation of these infrastructure plans? And if it is eligible for participatory budgeting, would it be, expedited? Would it be prioritized in any future plans?
I'm not sure I know the answer to that. Certainly, the type of designs that we have are replicable. They're approved by DOT, they're approved by parks. They could be installed anywhere across the city from, a pedestrian safety point of view. I think the part of the reason that this isn't moving forward in the Northwest Bronx is that looking at Tibbetts Brook, we're considering other ways to reduce combined sewer overflows into that part of the Harlem River. So if we can do that, perhaps then the green infrastructure isn't as valuable from a kind of cost-benefit analysis for us. But our grant program for private property owners is citywide. With parks, we're investing through the mayor's community parks initiative. So regardless of where that is, if parks is investing in, these areas that have been historically underfunded, we'll go in and take that opportunity to do stormwater work as well. So that's across the city in Manhattan, Staten Island, Northwest Bronx as well. But maybe that's a question for us to bring back.
You have to come to the mic to be heard. please.
We'll look into it, Josh, but I don't know if you and I spoke about it already. I don't think it's something to put up for participatory budgeting because there is funding for this, right? So there, we have money already put in for this. I think the PB money would be for other projects that you want to get funding in for them, right? So let me just double check on it, but I'll let you know for sure. Mhm. Yeah.
Mr. Hall and then Mr. DeAngelo.
More is engaged in that program at the level it is. But my question to you, you did say that you have a grant program for private properties?
Yes, sir.
How does that work, the grant program?
Well, that's a good question. Right now, we've found it, we're not getting out to as many folks as we'd like to, and that's because DEP does not have a history of dispersing smaller funds. So the program that we've had so far distributes money as though we're building a several $million sewage facility. So that's meant so far that we're reimbursing property owners who tend to be larger institutions, hospitals, Catholic schools. And right now we have an RFP out for a third-party administrator who will be able to distribute funds a little more easily, and we're targeting property owners greater than 50,000 square feet. But again, that's smaller than a lot of the grants that we've distributed so far. I think we've distributed about $30 million it's $30 million to about 15 property owners, or $15 million to about 30 property owners. So it's, for a city program, it's not that big so far, but we are looking to get in touch with a more typical sized commercial and industrial property owners.
So in the future, will that third-party administrator be responsible for distributing the funds?
Exactly.
Is that how it's going to work?
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. DeAngelo.
Any consideration giving to the idea of one-way streets, where one of the problems is parking, obviously, and when getting out of the car, you don't want to step into the rain garden.
Right.
On one side of the street, obviously, you're getting out on the street side, it doesn't affect
Right.
the garden.
Yeah, so DOT has been the agency that reviews the designs to make sure that it's safe for people to exit and get into their vehicles. And we're making changes. I can't say that we've done everything perfect along the way, so our designs are changing, and that's your concern is something that we've heard from people in a lot of different communities, and that's particularly why we've allowed basically a redesign for residents who have a disability.
But you do have, I mean, in other words, one-way streets where the street is going down. That side of the street is fine, because the car's door opens up on this side. It would be this side, that would be a problem. So
Yeah.
you can get it done. On the other side, there's no problem. It doesn't interfere with anybody. I mean, it's a beautiful idea. It's good. You know, it looks great in the neighborhood.
Yeah, so I'll share that, but yeah, right now it can be on either side of the street. Yeah.
Mr. Sullivan.
Okay, if you go back to the slide with the sidewalk gardens, okay, you said you're gonna dig down 5 feet. Now you have the utilities there, you have the water mains, the gas lines, the sewer. Who's taking responsibility now that you're disturbing everything?
Well, we definitely are responsible for that work, and
Right.
our contractors. We coordinate with utilities to cite where the rain gardens can go, and a lot of times based on the number of utilities that are there or what type of utility is there, a rain garden gets rejected.
Okay, now the next question, say you don't have any utilities in there. A lot of the houses and buildings in New York are very old.
Right.
And now you got water seeping down 5 feet. You got a heavy downpour. Now the building owner is getting water in their basement because this went in. Who's responsible?
Well, these are, they're cited regardless of whether it's on a city street or at a school.
Right.
All of these are cited a minimum 10 feet from a foundation wall.
Right.
And the rain gardens themselves, they have a plastic, like a heavy-duty plastic liner on the sides to make sure that water is not moving horizontally.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's in the hypothetical situation that you bring up. I don't know.
So you're actually trying to put a plastic catch basin around to direct the water straight down?
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Sure.
So we're going to move ahead with our next point on our agenda. As you already know, last month, it feels like last week. Last month, we heard city planning. We had a presentation from city planning regarding the text amendment for the M1 hotel special permit text. So we won't have a presentation today because the presentation was given last month. And we had quite a bit of conversation and quite a bit of discussion. And then this amendment has also been presented to your community boards separately, of which I'm sure there was more discussion. And today we have James Rather from the Department of City Planning. He's here with us in case there are any, in fact, any updates or things that you would like to just before we move forward, if there's anything else you want to add to last month's presentation.
Sure. So thank you for having us here again today. So again, we are here to request your support for the citywide text amendment. Again, just to reiterate what this is, this would be applicable again citywide for light manufacturing districts, M1 districts. It would regulate the development of commercial hotels in these areas. So anytime you'd want to construct a commercial hotel, instead of the current process where you file to Department of Buildings directly, you would now have to go before City Planning Commission, and of course community boards to have your site plan reviewed, to have a full sort of vetting of what it is and get it out sort of public on what kind of hotel is this, what's the nature of it, the design, all the specifics. So it does provide that additional level of review that you don't have currently. I don't have any updates per se. Things are still moving along. City Planning Commission hearing will be on the 25th. I'm happy to take any questions that folks have.
Questions? Comments? Okay. Mr. Crespo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last month, when this came up at the presentation, we were talking about all the categories that the special permit will fall under. Am I correct? It was motels, hotels, some boats and stuff like that. Am I correct?
Right. So in the zoning resolution, the way it's classified is it falls under the definition of a transient hotel. So it includes hotels, motels, botels, which to my knowledge there aren't actually any of in the city, but it is something that could potentially happen. Tourist cabins, which is an antiquated term for hotel rooms. So all of those, you get the idea of what it's sort of trying to regulate, those sort of transient, like you're staying over, you're in town as a tourist, that sort of thing.
But when we discussed this last month, I had a concern about why shelters were not incorporated into this, which will then put them under the same category, and more importantly, involve the boards in reviewing this, any applications that would put with homeless shelters. Now, not that I'm saying that Board 2 is against homelessness. We want permanent housing. But what I'm saying is that we wanted to make sure that shelters were included into this particular, because at this point right now, a shelter can go in to any of the M1s and just tear down a building and just come right up and do another shelter right there. And I know that DHS has stated that they won't be using any hotels, but it doesn't stop them from building shelters in the M1s.
Right, you are correct that currently you can convert that if you have a commercial hotel that the city does have the flexibility to contract with a provider. If sometime down the road they wanted some additional space to house homeless folks, say there's an emergency, that flexibility does exist, that you could potentially convert it. And as I said before, that is by design, that is not something that the city necessarily actively promotes, but if the flexibility is needed, that does exist.
Madam Chair, I just wanted for the record that we were the last board to review this application. I know that all the other boards had already been, they had their presentations done to them, but we were the last ones, and on June 27th of this year, which was approximately 3 weeks ago, the board voted to approve this, but with the stipulation, with a condition that motels, that shelters be also included into this particular amendment. And I know that the other boards did not vote with that caveat into the amendment. But however, I wanted for the record that Board 2 does want to approve this, but with a caveat with a concern of shelters being built in the M1 areas.
Okay. No, noted. All right, any other questions, Mr. Hall?
My colleague had mentioned in terms of the options that they have now, from my understanding, does this amendment give the community boards increased authority to make a decision, or are we still at an advisory level? Are we still at advisory level? I mean, and we're going from city planning commission, community boards.
Sure, so it's a ULURP action now, so it's a special permit under the new, if this is approved, it is a ULURP action, so it's a special permit. So when it goes before the community board, there would be additional weight attached to it, being that it's a ULURP and a special permit.
Okay, based on the amendment.
Right.
But it's still advisory.
It's, well, community boards is in general, right?
It's a,
I know that's a
increased area of
Sure.
advisory. Okay. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I just want everybody to understand that the reason we wanted this to be included is because right now, all our boards, DHS puts up shelters without notifying us at all. Now, I don't believe even the council members are being advised as to where the shelters, when they're going up. And this particular special permit would allow us at least to know that there's a shelter coming in or proposed shelter to come in, and we can review it, and it becomes within our purview of the board's powers.
So Rosemary just brought something up. So currently, you would have more, just to clarify, so currently something comes in and goes to DOB, right? Could be a shelter, could be a commercial hotel. At least now, under this new regulation, when they come in, they have to disclose what they are, that we are a commercial hotel, this is what we are. And if they come to you and they say, we're doing this, and then they try to do a bait and switch, you'll have it on the record that they're saying they're a commercial hotel, and that's different from what's current.
I see this conversation. Is there anything that you'd like to share? Oh, okay. Okay. It didn't look friendly. Okay, well, thank you for those, fielding those additional questions. We do have a quorum, and all Borough Board members are eligible for a vote. We will move forward with a motion. Motion to well, who did the motion? Oh, Mr. Faulkner was the motion to accept the text amendment M1 hotel special permit text, and we were seconded by Dr. Okay, and we'll do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Ayala? Yes. Councilman Cohen? Yes. Councilman King? Abstain. Councilman Jonai? Councilman Cabrera? Yes. Councilman Torres? Yes. Councilwoman Gibson? Councilman Salamanca? Councilman Diaz?
Yes.
And Community Board 1?
On this one, limits on its status of rain, down and answer. Vote on text amendment by your first version and just amendment.
What's your vote?
No.
What's your vote, Mr. Record? That's yes, no. Abstain. Thank you. Oh, suspense.
It would be joy. For those of us that know Community Board 2 votes yes with the condition of the shelter.
Thank you. Community Board 3? Yes. Community Board 4? Abstain. Community Board 5?
Yes.
Community Board 6?
Yes.
Community Board 7?
Yes.
Community Board 8? Yes. Community Board 9?
Yes.
Community Board 10?
Yes.
Community Board 11?
Stay.
Community Board 12?
Yes.
And the Board President abstains. Just doing our math the old school way. The motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, James. So that was just suspenseful, but you know, it was done. Thank you so much. We have completed the technical part of our agenda. I will open the floor to announcements of upcoming events or anyone in our gallery who would like to speak to any particular, who would like to be heard. We're doing announcements, upcoming events, and gallery presentations. Yes.
I have an announcement to make on August 5. We will have a huge street fair happening at Jericho Avenue and Waterbury. We ask all the board chairs and the district managers, please let the people know there will be Spanish and African singers, Bengali singers. There will be huge festival, multicultural festival, August 5 from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Well, I just have a question. When are we going to have the update on homelessness, which was originally on the initial agenda, which was sent out? September. Okay. I mean, is there any reason why she didn't come this time?
She's here, she just said she wasn't prepared to do the presentation.
The presentation was not prepared.
Oh, okay.
Was not ready for us today.
Not ready for us. Okay, because we came prepared for her.
Excuse me. I hope that you will hold on to your questions, comments, and concerns until September.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone in the gallery, please step up.
Hi, good morning. So from two upcoming things from the New York City Commission on Human Rights, we have the launch of the new disability protections under the city's human rights law that is coming out on Tuesday, July 24th. there is actually a presentation around it, and it's taking place at DC 37 in Manhattan, 125 Barclay Street. So there will be new legal guidance issued around disability protections under the city's human rights law. That's one thing. And the other thing is the report on the survey of Muslim, Arab, South Asian, Jewish, and Sikh communities that had taken place over a good chunk of last year has been released, and it's available on our website, nyc.gov/human-rights. And some of the highlights from the report have been, like, not surprisingly, but 71% of people don't report incidents of bias, discrimination, and harassment. 1 in 6 MASAJS New Yorkers have experienced racial, religious, or ethnic discrimination in employment. So those are some of the facts, and I would like to send the report out to everyone in the room because there is particular information about the Bronx that we could definitely work on together. Thank you.
Sure. Well, please share that information with our office, and we'll distribute it accordingly. Anyone else from the audience? The borough president is hosting a back-to-school event. So yes, it's almost back to school, but it seems like the kids just got out. Those of us who have children, whew, we're praying for the day. So back to school, and we ask you to save the date. It's August 25th at MS 45, and we'll mention it again at next month's meeting.
I'm sorry.
Yes, please.
Community Board 2 is also having a back-to-school event on August 18th, and it will be at the PAL on Longwood Avenue between Fox and Kelly.
Awesome. Yes, Brian.
Councilmember King and 12th District, in partnership with Fun in the Sun, is having a community engagement day parade in the North Bronx, marching across Gun Hill Road from Eastchester to Evander High School athletic field, where we'll be having a big concert free for the community. August 4th, and the parade starts at 12.
When does the concert start?
Concert starts at like 4:30. I'll definitely make sure you get the flyer.
Yes.
Councilmember Diaz, next week, Friday, July 20th, is having a Family Day Carnival in front of Kips Bay Boys and Girls Club on Randall Avenue and White Plains Road. It will be from 3 to 7 p.m. We'll have carnival games, rides, free giveaways, a ton of agencies. It's also in partnership with Catholic Charities from 3 to 7 p.m. on July 20th.
Thank you. Please pass the mic down to Jeff.
Thank you. So we're having from Councilmember Gibson's office, we're having a series of movie nights. We've already shown Black Panther and Despicable Me 3. This week, this Friday, we'll be at McCombs Dam Park, across the street from Yankee Stadium, and we'll be showing Wonder Woman. So please show up. There'll be free popcorn. Drinks may be provided. On July 21st, we are collaborating with DEP with a rain barrel giveaway. We'll be at Genesis Community Garden. That's at 1135 Franklin Avenue. It will be Saturday, July 21st from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. And our Family Day is also August 25th. So after you guys pass on from the BP's office, slide down over to Jerome about 170th. We'll have an event right in front of our office.
I'm glad you did not choose to step on our event.
No, of course not.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Hall.
I'm moving a little farther ahead. Budget consultations will occur again at Community Board 12 towards the end of September into October. Just wanted to make that announcement.
Very good.
Okay.
Very good. Yes. Wow. I think so.
Hi. So Councilmember Diana Ayala, she's hosting our annual youth fair at St. Mary's Tennis Courts. So that's on West 146th Street and St. Anne's Avenue. And that's going to be on August 9th, Thursday, between noon and 4 o'clock. So come out. We're going to have a bunch of free food provided by the school lunch people. So we'll be having peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, everyone's favorite. So yeah, come out. It'll be a fun day. It's a nice resource fair for parents and their kids, and activities for everyone to do, arts and crafts and all that.
Just to remind everybody, the salsa concerts are back at Orchard Beach. The borough president started last week. We'll be there again every Sunday through Labor Day.
Okay, so I guess we saved the best for last. The concerts at Orchard Beach seems to get the most applause. Again, as always, I thank you for your attendance, your continued work in your respective community boards and in your community, and I send you out to do more hard work. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Coming to you from our BronxNet studios, 4 new shows highlighting some of the best of the Bronx has to offer. We sit down with political leaders on In the District and discuss local legislation, events, and issues. See how the community and business come together with The Bronx Now on BronxNet. Nosotros features leaders from our Latino community. Meet those who are moving to make a difference in public service, business, arts, and culture. Looking for new and exciting dining experiences? Then you'll want to savor the Bronx and try new restaurants and eateries that fill the borough with delicious dishes. We have it all, so experience the Bronx in new and fresh ways on BronxNet.
Was opened in November 18, 2013, and now we'll have 4 years of being the sole owner of My Haven. My Haven is kind of like the Cheers of the Bronx, where I like my customers to feel welcome the moment they walk into the door, and the moment when they leave, I make sure they say hi and bye all the time. Once a month we have comedy night, we have game night, karaoke every Friday. We also have open mic the first Saturday of every month. Outside of that, we also have the back room that they could do private events, catering, meetings, etc. My menu is pretty unique. It's very versatile. You could find anything from burgers, pasta, flatbread, schnitzel, which is just chicken breast with mashed potatoes, and what we call Israeli salad. Our most popular dish in the salad will be the sesame tuna salad. We're very flexible. If there's something there that you want, we'll do our best to make it happen. We have one specific artist. His name is Jeff. He usually does the rotation of the artwork. He is a community resident. He lives across the street, and he comes in almost every day. And he has sold a few pieces by them being here. And so far, he's been my only artist. I would like for everyone to come on out to My Haven Bar and Grill at 1 Bruckner Boulevard and try us out.
restaurant is Porto Salvo, and it's named after Safe Harbor. Our executive chef, Luigi Guidetti, is from Terracina, Italy, which is a very kind of seaside port town. He grew up with a lot of seafood-oriented dishes. It very naturally kind of extended into the nautical themes.
As a main focus point, we try to looking for something, and we were like short of idea. So then a friend of ours come, is like, oh, I got an old boat. We pull it up in front of the restaurant, it's upside down. People were, when we were doing the installation, people stopped us like, why you do that? Why the boat is upside down and why it's up there? I said, it's gonna rain a lot tonight. So it's like, to get ready, and that's the story of the boat.
We live in the neighborhood, so I thought people in this neighborhood deserve something that's, made from scratch. The quality of it is good for them and healthy. Luigi is my life partner, and he's also my business partner, and I met him exactly about 5 years ago, and I just fell in love with him. Instead of calling a chef, I would really call him an artist, because what he loved to do is really to play around with the ingredients and then make that combination very unique and very fresh from the background that he had.
Some of the dishes, basically they are typical dishes that we serve in Italy. We try not to change or Americanize the recipe because we want to give to the people the original recipe and the original taste. Basically, we represent a little bit of everything from Italy. We go from the north to the center to the south of Italy. From the north, cauliflower buttered in beer and deep fried with the spicy mayo, typically from the southern Naples. Marinated anchovies and dried on the sun, then under oil. It's very nice and tasty. These are typical from the south. Bruschetta with fried zucchini, shrimp and mascarpone cheese. And it's very nice, very juicy.
We don't provide TVs and we don't even provide internet access. So this way, you kind of more steered towards talking to the people in front of you or talking to the people next to you when I'm sitting at the bar. And I think that's what people want at the end. We get a lot of thank yous from the neighborhood because we say thank you to them for coming and supporting us, and they say thank you to us for providing a space.
When somebody fails to stop you and give you the thanks for what you're doing, I think it's very good. It makes you feel good. It's like, that's what I want to do. Buon appetito.
We are Sam Square Thai Cuisine. We're here in Riverdale for 16 years. Very beautiful and nice neighborhood. We do the authentic Thai. We have the lovely customers here, so very wonderful to be here in the Bronx. Because we're here a long time, most of the customers became friends, and we serving them as a family. The most popular ones is pad Thai noodles. Stir-fried pad Thai noodles, shrimp or chicken. In one order, at least we have pad Thai noodles. And we have duck, Penang curry, spicy, very fine food. People love it. We have grilled chicken or frank steak in Thai style. We call tiger fries, which is very tender and tasty that you cannot miss it. And the pineapple fried rice, that's the wonderful dish that people always ask for. With the fried rice that we stir-fry with Thai style and then pineapples. And we have somtam salad, which is with the raw green papaya salad and with the lime vinaigrette, which is very healthy, and then that's the one most popular vegetarian dish. On Wednesday, we have free wine night. We have a lot of crowd here on Wednesday. They're having a good time. The decorations here, we make the Thai atmosphere. You could see different colors, they all comes together. And that's what we design of our restaurant to be like this. We were the first Thai restaurant who opened up in the Bronx. And right now we have a couple of them. And we still like Thai authentic, which is we make very spicy as you like. And we also have the dish that's non-spicy. And just to give you the picture of where Thai food is right between Indians and Chinese. Very interesting. If you want to try Thai food here in Riverdale, just please come visit us.
Social Club has been here for about 9 months now. We do wood-fired pizza in our oven there. Everything we do here is homemade, from the dough to basically every ingredient we use is fresh. Our chef, Tom, is trained in Italy. He's owned a couple other restaurants before, and this is kind of his specialty. We love this neighborhood. I've lived in this neighborhood for 7 years. And the neighborhood is still growing. You know, the residents really want more diversity in the restaurant, so we thought it'd be something that the neighborhood would really like to have. So far the response is great. I mean, everybody loves the food. I think people are really happy to have something different than the other places that have been around here for a while. The focus is the stuff that comes out of the oven behind me. The pizza is the main thing that we do here, and then beyond that, homemade meatballs and spaghetti. It's just kind of comfort food, especially for this time of year. We have pub buffalo wings. They're made with cherry peppers and a vinegar brine. They're really tasty. The oven we got, it's called a Pavesi spinner. It's made in Italy, and one of the cool features of it is that the deck spins so that it helps cook the pizza evenly. So we always get the consistent pizza we like. So we had locally well-known graffiti artist who goes by Tracy168, so we brought him in to kind of keep the local vibe. And we're here 7 days a week, open for lunch and dinner, and I hope everybody in Kingsbridge, Riverdale area and beyond throughout the Bronx, you know, come check it out.